Thank you, Dr. Escudero, for the provocative message about rethinking business education and the urgency of the need for global sustainability. We will now have the open forum, and we'd like to invite questions both from the delegates as well as the students who have attended the talk. I would like to moderate the open forum with these basic guidelines. Please raise your hand if you want to ask a question, and we will acknowledge you. Use any of the 4 microphones in the aisles. State your name and the institution you represent. So we now like to invite questions from the audience. Oh, yes. Can we have the gentleman, please? Take the nearest mic.
I'm Benny Delnation from St. Joseph's College, India. I must say that the presentation has been very lucid and enlightening and challenging also. I would like to raise 3 observations and I would like to request your comments, please. First, I think regarding the responsibility of corporates, I think today there is a problem with global accepting and fixing of responsibility, kind of global consensus on fixing and accepting responsibility for both possible as well as actual risks. Unfortunately, today, even regard to actual risks, there is lack of consensus on preventive as well as rehabilitative programs. Secondly, you talked about the emerging new social contract. I am afraid this emerging social contract is mainly or only political in nature. It excludes the civil society or organizations like the IAJBS or others. And so this emerging contract, which is mainly political in nature and operations, doesn't achieve the goal. Particularly, I think it totally excludes the potential victims. And thirdly, so question that I would like to raise to all of the assembly here, you talked about Jesuit advantage and the leadership. I would like to raise to all of us how far the Jesuit leadership is reflecting the servant leadership model. How far we are making it, what are the practical parameters of this servant leadership, and how far we are actually at it. So such reflections could add more value, I think. I request your comments, sir. Thank you.
This shouldn't become a question and answer part of this session. So I would really encourage other colleagues, to stand up and talk, and maybe at some point I will. Please go ahead.
More questions? Yes, please. State your name and institution.
Good morning, Dr. Escudero. My name is Terrence Lau, and I'm from the University of Dayton in Ohio, Marinist University. And my question is, or I guess it's a comment, you talked about the emergence of corporations as a new social force. And it seems to me like the emergence of corporations came at the fall of other institutions, namely government and the church, in terms of their traditional responsibility in taking care of the disadvantaged and the poor. And so with the rise of corporations, the question then becomes, in my mind at least, can corporations do a better job than the church or the government in taking care of the disadvantaged and the poor? And I think the answer is maybe yes and no, because if we look at some examples, for example, in China, we've never seen so many people being lifted out of poverty before as a result of free trade and free business. That can work, but it cuts both ways, because it also comes with great risks to the environment that no one really pays any attention to. So I think one of our challenges then is to both teach responsible and sustainable practices without ignoring the fact that at a very fundamental level, corporations cannot do good if they're not profitable and if they don't have guidance from their own leadership about the cost, not in terms of balance sheets, but in terms of human rights and labor and the environment on their operations. And so I wonder sometimes if we miss the boat in responsible education by talking only about sustainability and human rights without talking more as well about what it is that corporations need in order to, quote unquote, do good. So part of which is open markets, access to markets, as well as greater rules to facilitate FDI. Just a thought.
Well, I think that the two, they are absolutely fair. I think that the pattern of, that's why, personally, I prefer to talk about new value creation than about sustainability, because I'm convinced that what we are talking about is the new sources of value creation. Now, you go to Nestle at this moment, and you talk about, to Nestle about sustainability or CSR, and the CEO of Nestle will look at you saying, what are you talking about? I mean, what I do in my business is simply I organize all the supply chain, in a very clear concept of a change, that is at the same time monetary, but is also at the change of development. My supply chain is a supply chain in which I help my suppliers with development. And by doing that, the value I am creating for my company is magnificent. And the solidity of my business is incredible. That is sustainability. Companies, many companies, I would say, not all by all means, but many companies at this moment are making out of the impacts in society and the environment part of their value creation. That's why I was talking that in fact at this moment, from morality we are going into materiality. Now a challenge for us as scholars is nobody has really captured so far the materiality of the non-financial aspects of the performance of the company. They are a challenge for us, as many other theoretical challenges here. But talking more in general, and referring to the first remarks of the first gentleman,